we have a generation of parents that have over-babied these children.
Yep.
We see it in every campus. When you and I were talking, and I asked you, could any of our junior or senior high school kids, if something happened, live independently? No, they would all be in stress and struggle. And the reason I say that is because basic understanding, home economics, basic living skills have been taken out of our public school systems, and we're not teaching our kids that, okay? But it's also not being done at home.
Yep.
The independence in the home structure has taken over by let me baby and coddle my kids, so much so that we have got, and I'm telling you, there's a community that I work with that at the end of our conference brought up the youth on the stage. Mm-hmm. It was all the youth that was part of this program. Well, as an educator, I was dumbfounded. Like literally, I'm sitting there with my mouth and probably drooling, like, are you kidding me? And trying to close my mouth so I don't say things that, Pam would just spit out. But youth was considered from 16 to 27. I say this because I know I'm going to get some backlash on this. I know there's going to be parents, just like there always are, that are going to give you their 2 cents. Well, this is my 2 cents. You are destroying a generation of 18 to 27-year-olds that are serving our country when you call them youth. I have a hard time with this one because if we have an 18-year-old that can take a bullet for our rights, I'm not calling them a child.
Nope.
And it's time that parents start reflecting on that. If you have an 18-year-old in your house that you are still coddling as if they're a 12, 13-year-old or even a 16-year-old, you need to remember that the world outside of your home is not going to see them as a child any longer. If they date someone that's 13, they're a pedophile and they're going to go to jail. Mm-hmm. But if you have the mentality that they're still a little child, even though they're 18, you are doing a disservice to your child. You are not preparing them because the world outside of your house is going to see them as an adult.
And there's no don't wait, right? So they may be 18 today, and if that's how it was yesterday, that's okay. Tomorrow it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely.
Right? They can
but
set
when
the new standards.
Correct. When do we start this process? And I'm going to talk to you a little bit because it also has some in your home. It's got some in some of my family homes outside of mine that this is common. This isn't just neurodivergent families. This is going on in all families across the world right now. Mm-hmm. We have gone from let them go free fall to I don't want them to even blow their nose without me wiping for them. Guys, you're not preparing your kids. All right. And then we come into, I got kindergartners that are talking about college, but they don't have any life skills. I have junior, senior high kids that are here that if a water main break would happen at their house while mom and dad were away, they would call 911. We've got to take and roll things back a little bit. So how do we start that?
I think that's a big question.
Well, it's just like us writing programs for our nonverbal children.
Yep.
You have to start with the small steps. Mm-hmm. And so if you notice what I said to my friend was, okay, well, what chores are they doing?
Yep.
Oh, you can tell so much by the level of responsibility that a parent is giving to their child by asking what chores are they responsible for in the home. If you have a 13-year-old that is not washing their own clothes, not washing dishes, not taking the trash out, well, you haven't even prepared them to be a 13-year-old, let alone where's the gap once they become 18?
And think about academics too, like the question that I always ask myself as my kids were growing up, how independent are they? And that's something that I struggled with my son Aiden, helping him out. And people had to shine the light on me saying, he can do it. Mm-hmm. He can do it. You're doing too much. And I would have to let go a little bit. And I learned very quickly, he could do it.
So.
That independence is big.
But we also need to tell our parents, the higher the IQ, the monster manipulator.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So we also need to remember that just because our children may learn a little differently, and then this is going to the neurodivergent families. Most of our children, and those that even may not have expressive verbal language right now, still are brilliant little kids in there. And they have learned, just like if I have a tantrum on the floor, mommy or daddy will give in to me. My son, I've even had to tell Loki, you can knock that shit off. Do you know why? Because he'll go, I don't know how to do it. I don't think I know. I don't, really? But you can go on to Google and play these games and write mod codes and cheats and all this, but you can't look up how to call a plumber? Okay, you see where I'm going with this, mom and dad. How much executive functioning skills do your children have when they play their video games? It's a good judge of character there. So if they can go through and they can see that I'm going, let's go way back in the day when Link was the only thing, that adventure play, okay? Well, if they can go and master their way and they can understand how to figure out puzzles, and then all of a sudden, oh, I didn't like the way that they had my character's outfit, and they can go in and put a mod, which is a modification in gamer term, into the actual code to change the outfit of a character, or they can figure out, oh, well, DLC parents, that's downloadable content. I'm helping you in these terms, in this jargon. Well, if they can go figure out that, and they can figure out, oh, I need some Roblox money, or I need some Steam cash, they can figure out how to function and do chores in the house.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I think, you mentioned it earlier, like a behavior plan, like where are they at today? Where's their starting point? So if you do have an 18-year-old that doesn't have those high executive functioning skills, well, that's their starting point. Exactly. So what can they do? What are their independent skills, or what are their skills that they need the little to no prompting? So it could be washing dishes, putting their clothes away, whatever.
1,000%.
But maybe they're not at a point where they can stay home by themselves.
But you start at the level.
They are.
So let's say 18-year-old is a great one. So we've got an 18-year-old in the house, and the 18-year-old hasn't done any chores at all. Let's go to there's no responsibility. We just basically have gotten to the point that they are functioning now. Mm-hmm. Parents, I'm always going to be blunt with you. I'm there. I get it. Maybe the main goal was just to make sure they could wipe their own butt and go to the bathroom. That's okay. Yep. But where do you build from there? We just don't stop there and go, okay, well, Johnny, he hit that milestone. Oh, it's okay. I don't have to do anything else now. No, because now you go on to that momentum. Yep. You're like, okay, Johnny, way to go. You got that. So now we start with sorting clothes. Yep. Whites, towels, colors, darks. Maybe they're not ready to wash yet, but you've got to start with small steps to get them to start doing independent chores within the household. Otherwise, again, it is a disservice to the child.
And I think similarly, let's drop it down a few years. Let's talk about a 10-year-old, right? So 10-year-olds, yep. You use the word master manipulator. They love to say, I don't want to, right? Or I can't, or I don't know, right? So what do we start with a 10-year-old? We say, okay, what do they know? What have they tried? What have they not tried? Maybe we need to teach them, and we model and we coach.
Absolutely.
But once they've demonstrated the skill, now they know how to do it. So now that becomes their chore, their job.
Bingo.
And I think you build upon that. But would you ever say, I'm going to stop teaching a 10-year-old?
Never.
So no, you would say, now what do we teach them for the next grade and the next year and the next year and so on?
Everything is a teachable moment.
Absolutely.
If you're making spaghetti at home, why are you not having your kids involved with you? They need to learn these things. And if you're already functioning and doing them, you've got your little helpers there. They may not be able to independently do it now, but they will be able to with time and consistency and coaching.
Yeah. And one of the things we talked about when we were prepping for this is that it reminded me of my mother. So shout out to my mom, right? So I remember being a 10-year-old with a key to the house. Oh. Now, nowadays that seems a little... Some people would say, oh my God, what are you doing? But I remember my mom was, worked hard, and we had 3 of us in the house, and I had to be dropped off by a bus, and she wasn't always home because she had to pick up the younger sister. So guess what? I had to unlock the door, get in the house, lock the door. So my own kids, I'll be honest, I didn't do that with my own kids. And now I'm talking to my son Aiden, who's 11, going to be 12. I'm like, guess what? You're going to be 12. you can stay home by yourself. He goes, without supervision.
Oh my gosh,
So
yes.
That's where we're at with him.
I'm telling you.
Versus the 13-year-old Sabrina, she stays home by herself, no problem. So, it's just kind of.
Let's talk about babysitting.
Let's talk about
babysitting.
That's another one. So, we have Hope is 17, right? So, all accounts, she's babysat older kids.
Okay.
6, 7, 8-year-old, she's babysat tons of, but those kids can do a lot of things by themselves, So we flirted with the idea of her babysitting the 4-year-old twins.
Right.
The challenge that we have, and this is something we're trying to just get over and say, nope, you're going to give it a shot, right? Is she does have a pretty low tolerance. Like after about 20 minutes of the twins, she gets burnt out. Like she gets frustrated, all these stuff. And so she's seen her own barriers.
Right.
And she wants to grow up. She wants to be able to help. But it has, as parents, is like, oh man, now we can't even have our babysat. And that's where we're stopping that as parents. We're like, no, we got to give it a try.
Yes. Well.
Yeah. But I said that the other day.
There's a
like,
twofold, yes.
Yeah, right.
Because, again, we go back to thinking of the baby boomers and Gen X generations. And in both of those generations, latchkey kids, yeah, you're sitting there saying 10. I'm like, okay, well, what grade was first grade for me? So put that in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I was in first grade and I knew that I had to walk home after first grade. I can remember my grandmother's house, because my mom was working in the city. By the time I was in third grade, I was babysitting my first grade sister with the rule of if your sister gets in trouble, you're going to get it just as bad, if not worse, because you let her get in trouble.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
So it's a different generation and it's a different time. My sister and I sit back and we laugh because some of the things we got away with, our kids will not do in this generation. First of all, they have Ring cameras. They got cameras on the phone. They have cameras everywhere. Sneaking out and all that stuff that our generation did back in the day is a thing of the past.
Yeah.
And as much as that maybe we sit and laugh and we joke about, oh, you got away with that with your parents and everything. But there was also a sense of adventure, responsibility.
You learned.
Correct.
Learning, yeah.
That our kids are not.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's very true.
So speaking of which, I do know we had 2 questions that came in on the circle. Can you read them back to me? I know I read them online, but I would like to, before we get too far away,
Sure.
to go ahead and answer those.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you don't mind.
Yep. So our 2 questions are first, from MindMeld Live. In my house, I have a young 18-year-old and 11-year-old, and my child keeps saying my baby younger child I baby my younger child. She believes that I should have the same expectations for my 11-year-old that I have for my 18-year-old. I have something very similar to this problem, actually.
Okay.
I've explained the age difference to my set of 7 years amounts to a lot of growth and development, but there are some different developmental expectations. I need help explaining how do I get this across to my child? Am I doing this wrong? How do I explain that to them?
Okay, so the first thing we have to do is the explaining part, okay? Sometimes as parents, we over-explain, all right? We have to remember that when you're in, especially with siblings, there's a lot of sib shops we do for our neurodivergent children, but when we're talking about neurotypical children too, the sibling rivalry, especially when I'm hearing that age gap, you've got, and then I'm hearing, oh, he's your favorite, any of these little things, little boy versus little girl, Okay. Number 1, let's get the piece of paper down. Get a whiteboard out, piece of paper, whatever you need to do, but it must be in some type of visual representation. Then you need to list down, what is the age-appropriate chores for a 10-year-old? What is the age-appropriate chores for an 18-year-old?
Mm-hmm.
If they are the identical same, then you need to let the 18-year-old know, well, fine, okay, well, I'm going to treat you like a 10-year-old then.
I see it very much similar because if you think about, I think about my own kids, and I remember there was a time, it's a few years ago now, but Hope used to throw that line at your favorite Sabrina.
Ah.
Now, for the audience, right, Sabrina's my firstborn, and Hope is my adopted daughter. I don't treat them any differently, but early on, in Hope's eyes, I did.
Okay.
Now, those who are very close to the family recognize a couple of nuances. Sabrina asks for nothing. She's very quiet. She attends to everything an adult says. If the adult says to do this, she does.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't question. She doesn't ask why. She doesn't argue. Super chill
Okay.
young lady, right? Hope, strong-minded. If she doesn't want to do it, she's going to ask you 1,000 reasons why, and she's going to tell you 1,000 reasons why she can't do it. So 2 different personalities, 2 different behavioral types. And as time progressed, we started having those conversations. Why do we treat Sabrina so differently? Well, let's talk about your behavior. Let's talk about how you approach scenarios, situations.
Can I jump in? Because the first thing I would say is, what are those differences?
Right.
And the only reason I'm stressing that, especially to our families, because sometimes we overtalk it again. And children especially only hear what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're sitting down and going, well, I have to do the trash and I have to, okay, list them all out.
Yep.
Because when we start saying general statements, why do you treat her better? Or why do you treat her differently than me? Well, how do I do that?
How do I do that?
Because those are the big questions that you must be able to reflect back is that, okay, I hear that you feel that way, because we never want to diminish the way someone feels.
For sure.
Because if they're vocally expressing that, then there is something that has triggered them to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is deep dive into that. Well, explain that to me, Manny. Why do you think I do that? Can you give me an example so that I know? And if they can't give me an example, then you're like, well, this is what I see. And then again, you go to the visual representation. Right. These are the 10 things you have assigned. These are the 5 things that your brother or sister has assigned. Same thing with discipline. It's like, well, Sabrina did what we had asked of her. It's 2 days later, you still haven't done it. So help me understand what happened, why she was able to do it in 5 hours and it's 2 days later and it still hasn't been done.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sad, because I would love to be able to treat you both the same, but you're both not providing the same work product.
Not dissimilar to what we do in business, right?
Bingo. And this is where I'm saying, stop treating them like trick kids. You have young adults, and we have to start giving them that allowance in our safe, loving, nurturing home before we put them out into the public.
Yeah, that's right. And I definitely think if you were to treat kids in terms of their age or their abilities or whatever in terms of a job description, the job description of a 10-year-old is not going to be the same as the job description of a 17-year-old. Correct.
So let's say for this question that they had the exact same chores, that they wrote it out, the 18-year-old. And here's the next part, moms and dads. Don't you do the work. So 18-year-old, you think that your brother should be doing the exact same thing as you? Okay, can you list everything that you do? Then as the mom, I'm going to list everything that the 10-year-old does. And then when we come down and we look at the list, if they're identical, then I would say, okay, well, you're 18. You don't have a bedtime. You don't have any internet. You're an adult. But if you're doing the same amount of work as my 10-year-old, well, I guess that means I got to put the child protection locks back on your computer. I guess it means that you have to go back to bed at 9 o'clock or at 8 o'clock, depending on what your family rules are. Oh, and I'm so sorry. I guess we go back to your allowance. These are the things that then you start to relate. Then you're all of a sudden the 18-year-old's going to be like, no. I'm an 18-year-old. I don't want to be a 10-year-old. Oh, okay. So now let's look at this. So what are you doing above and beyond what the 10-year-old is doing?
Right. And I think we also can leverage the fact that, we call them motivators, right? So reinforcers. So what a 10-year-old is reinforced by, right? Time outside, playing with their friends.
Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever the new card decks are. The 10-year-olds are all into that. 18-year-olds need gas money.
Gas money. Going out with their friends, staying out late, doing whatever, right? More independence, right? So the reward has to equal the effort.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's been one of the biggest breakthroughs in my house. It's like, oh, so you think you're being treated unfairly. Let's talk about that. What are you working for? Oh, you want more independence with your friends. You want some gas money because you don't have this, you don't have that. Cool. So what effort are you putting in to make that happen, to get that reward?
Bingo.
Because guess what? The 10-year-old don't got a driver's license. Can't go outside with his friends without supervision. Can't, so the 4-year-olds, guess what? They're potty trained. They're still in pull-ups.
Absolutely.
So it's not the same.
But the biggest point I want to let you all know is remember sometimes just in the communication side, words get lost. So having a visual representation will cut a lot of the argument. So as much as it may be annoying, and remember, you can deflect it back to the child. Okay, well, you go make me a list. You go make me a list. We'll sit down at the table and we'll make sure it's fair because, you know, I may have perceived this incorrectly. Mm-hmm. So it's never telling them that they're wrong. Allow them to vocalize and express the way that they're feeling, how they feel that this has been an injustice, and then come to the table with the documents and the data, because data never lies.
I love it. I think that's great.
Next question.
Next question.
Question number 2. Why, as a parent, do I feel the need to explain the list of reasons why I'm asking kids to do certain chores? Instead of, because I said so, is that not sufficient anymore?
So that, you know, we talk about the baby boomers and Gen X population. And the only reason is this hits real home. You had a Cuban mama. I'm sure that this one hit home. I'm the mama, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Because I said so.
Right.
Wow.
Well, I got the big one. I brought you in this world, I take you out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
You pay rent. When you pay the bills in this house, then you can ask me questions. Otherwise, you do what I say. It doesn't work anymore because as a society, just like when we're looking at, you know, in the United States, 1 in 31 children are ASD. Well, that doesn't even go with alphabet soup. So if we're in 1 in 4 kids have got some type of neurodivergent ability that's coming into them, autism spectrum, OCD, ODD, AS, you know, the plethora alphabet soup. Our kids are breaking free from the programmable robot personalities. Mm-hmm. And as we are giving them access to now artificial intelligence, computer engineering, these things at such an early age, it is stopping that because I said so. The other part it's stopping is mom and dad are always right. No, we're humans too. Yep. And mom and dad, it's okay for you to be wrong, but you have to be human about it and go, Manny, you know what? I was wrong. I made a mistake. So this is how we're going to fix it. We are in a generation now, especially in our population, because I said so does not work. They're going to come up with 1,500 million different other questions for you, or they just won't do it until they can understand the whole process. Now, you can also work that to your benefit. Why do I have to turn the lights off? Because we pay for electricity. Mm-hmm. So then you put a dollar amount on the light switch. So when you leave that light switch on and you leave, that's $5, period. Whether it's your Steam account, whether it's your Roblox account, whether it's your chores, whether it's, oh, you wanted to go to the movies, you need some gas money. Sorry, left the computer on all night long, left the lights on all night long. These are the things that you can then reinforce that backwards with.
Yeah, I think 100%. You know, you mentioned my mother, you know, my mother had a tagline, I think. I probably changed it a little bit now as an adult, but she says, when we used to say, why do I got to do that chore? She used to say, because I'm teaching you how to live. And
I love this.
In a way, it was, in our vernacular in ABA, would say, because we're teaching you independence. And I think they're both work. But her whole thing was, because I'm not going to be alive forever. And I got to teach you how to live. And I remember that growing up when I was doing my own laundry, when she was teaching me how to cook, when I was mopping the floors, when I was cleaning outside the house, you know, it wasn't I wanted to do that. My mom asked me to do something. I didn't usually argue with my mother. You just don't, because she takes out the chancleta, which is a little flat thing, you know. But outside of that, you know, joking aside, she would, you know, if we ever did say, why do I got to do that? She would say, because I got to teach you how to live. And she would make the morbid...
But that's so real.
You know, and she'd make the morbid translation of, because I'm not going to live forever. But it hit home, you know, for us. And we would say, okay. And I use that with my kids.
You know, but I think parents, we're afraid to do that. Think about how many parent training sessions that we have been in, and the parents are afraid that their children will not like them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's heartbreaking, you know, when you feel that way. I've been there. I have... My wife, bless her heart, a little shout out to my wife. You know, she is with her daughter, my adopted daughter, Hope. So my daughter, there was a time where I was, what's the phrase she used to say? Parenting with guilt. Mm. And it wasn't my guilt. I just felt guilty for her lack of a dad before me. And I also parented Sabrina and Aiden with guilt during the divorce process. So I can sympathize with that parent who says to themselves, oh my God, I can't do that or whatever. Bag that. So now 5 years later, no, you better do that because you're not helping them for the long of their life.
You hit something that I didn't even think of when we were talking about this Zoom or live or whatever you all want to call these. We see this so much with our neurodivergent families because families still today don't know why their child, especially in the autism spectrum disorder, what did I do? So when you're talking about parenting with guilt, I believe that is one of the main reasons that we're seeing everything today. While we've got an entire campus here of junior, senior high students that couldn't babysit.
Yep.
Just like you even said in your own household as a behavioralist.
Yeah.
So please, parents, understand this isn't something you're dealing with alone.
No, definitely not.
But the guilt, you've got to be able to let go because it's not serving you or your child. And just like, we have lots of families that didn't plan on having children, but they're the biggest blessing that have come into their lives. But when we were going through it, it wasn't, oh my gosh, what do you do?
Right.
There's a lot of oopses that happen all over the world. And when those oopses happen, we don't then have the baby with this guilt. Same thing with your child being diagnosed. They're vibrating at a different frequency. Doesn't mean you did anything wrong. And guys, guess what? If you did do something wrong, it's okay. I forgive you. Your child forgives you. They don't even know what you did. So let's say you were drinking during the pregnancy. You were doing drugs during the pregnancy. You fell during the pregnancy. Oh, maybe it is just an XY chromosome issue. It's not something you intentively went out to do and harm. So a lot of times, all of this emotional baggage that we're carrying with us is not necessary.
Yep.
And it simply hinders us from being the best parents that we can be to our kids.
Love that.
So I think that is, for this question, I would let them know that we're parenting in a different generation with different expectations and with technology we didn't have available 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So when you have technology at the forefront where answers are so easily accessible, Sadhguru said this thing that, nowadays we all have many computers that we're walking around with, so it's even the playing field of intelligence.
I like that.
So now what do we have? If we've evened the playing field intelligence, I'm a bad one at this. It comes down to how much common sense do you have then?
Common sense is far from common.
Bingo. So that's what we need to be teaching. And any mom and dad can do that. Man, there are so many games. You could play solitaire with your kids, old maids with the kids. You get what I'm saying? These are all old school games that don't require a lot of money and just time with your children.
Well, and I think this question, like to me, when I heard it, answering the question why, like over explaining, etc., instead of saying because I told you so, we talk about it all the time. Every moment's a teachable moment, especially as a parent. So why not answer the question why? If they have the goal to even ask their parent why, well, give them a good answer.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a good answer, maybe that's a problem.
Correct.
Because if my kid comes up to you and says, why do I got to do the dishes? Well, guess what? You want to eat on those dishes, right?
Correct.
Do you know how many germs are in the dishes if you don't clean them? Well, guess what? I'm not the only one in the house, so you got to help and join the party.
I loved the parent that went and did the entire cost breakdown on their house. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
That it was like the lights cost this, the Wi-Fi password costs this, the water costs this. I love that because kids, period, need to understand if you're, we've talked about this on one of the Purple Couch episodes. We were talking about if you're going to discuss financial concerns or family concerns, then you've got to explain it all to the kid. You can't just come in, oh, we can't do that because money's tight right now. Okay, why? Why is it tight? Why don't we have any money, mom and dad?
Had this
what are we
discussion not too
doing?
long ago, yeah.
And so when you actually have them understanding, we've got kids here in the junior, senior high that didn't realize you have to pay for electricity. What are you talking about? I've seen celebrities being interviewed and didn't realize that you paid for electricity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Florida, it's Florida Power and Light, and it's a big bill.
And it is true, like the generation challenge that we have, which kind of reinforces that you should answer the question why. The commercial that's popping in my mind is the one where I think it's Rocket Money or something like that, where they show people how many subscriptions do you have, and they're surprised that they have like 6 subscriptions of the same thing.
Correct.
And so it's like this level of ignorance or naivete or whatever you want to call it, but nobody showed them. At some point,
Correct.
either they didn't ask the right questions or nobody showed them the value of the dollar. And this thing that you just mentioned, we just had this conversation in my household. And I've been flirting with the idea of putting the price tag on everything. The cost of a gallon of milk and the cost of the soda. But one of the things that we experience here at the high school is a lot of our high schoolers DoorDash food.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing, right? So my high schooler, my senior, 18, soon to be 18, she DoorDashes, but she has money in her own account.
Mm-hmm.
She has a job and everything like that. But every once in a while, she's like, oh man, I ran out of money. So dad has access to her account. I know where your money went. Do you want to talk about it? Nope, don't want to talk about it. I know. And but she's learning.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the hard way is the best way, but she's learning. So
Loki had the same thing. So he went so far to realize that, there's other food competitors that deliver without saying their names.
Said the name.
Well, it's okay. So you said DoorDash. There's Uber Eats. There's DoorDash. There's Grubhub. There's Slice. So that we can give
Not
all of them.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a whole bunch
We're
of different
sponsored.
ones.
We just,
Yeah, I'm trying to be. Yeah. Loki realized that one charges less fees,
yeah.
and so charging less fees, he started ordering double orders. And so he would come home and he'd have this extra meal. And I'd look at him and I was like, what is that? He said, this is my dinner tonight, Mom. You don't have to cook for me. And I'm like, where did you get? Well, when I ordered lunch today, I decided that I wouldn't have to have any delivery fees or anything like that. And I just ordered 2 meals. And so I'm just going to finish this for dinner. Made it easier for me. But that was the best learning experience for Loki, is when he came back to me and he was like, yeah, I'm only ordering twice a week because look how much money I'm spending on, And I love that because, again, self-initiated.
Yep.
I didn't have to get involved. It was just like you were talking with your daughter. It was his money.
Yep.
And he realized, oh, I'm burning through it by doing this. I've got to come up with a more effective way. I didn't have to. He used his own ability to think outside the box to how do I do this? Then he rationed.
Yep.
Now he's on the kick that he looks to see before he decides who's offering the best deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is a buy one, get one free. And this has a chicken sandwich and it's not buy one. But this is teaching him reality because now if he's got $10, he knows how to make that $10 last as if it was $50. Because he's like, oh, no. If you go, oh my goodness, there's another store that has a big dollar sign in its name and you can get cost savings going to this place. Oh, he has realized, because I won't buy soda. I just won't do it. I'm like, we're not having that in my house. If you're going to do it, you have to buy it and bring it into the house because Mom's done. So he's realized that he goes to the discount place. It's got the same soda that the other place has, and it's almost half the price. So he has his own little jam. But to me, I'm like, okay, that's independence. And that's what we want for all of our kids, guys. Coming out here today and talking to you all in the Zoom, Dr. Manny and I simply want you to hear from other parents, not just professionals. This time for us is to give you tips and tricks in real life, real homegrown, what we're dealing with in our home so that we can help you all relate in your home. So how would you end it for today?
Well, I think we've had a couple of little one-liners that were perfect for the show. But for me, I think I'm just going to borrow from Mom and just kind of remember as a parent, as morbid as it sounds, we're not going to live forever. So, and I think as parents, we all want our kids to outlive us, of course. So I think just reminding them the reason we tell them they got chores, they got responsibilities, they're learning. Why? Because they need to learn how to live, because we're not going to live forever.
I'm going to piggyback on you on that one. I think that having real conversations with your kids, You know, I think about the question, why can't I just tell them to do it? Well, because just like your boss, you don't like being dictated to. Our children don't want to be dictated to. I hear in that question the programming that was still instilled by that adult now of my mom and dad telling me, okay, that was over 30 years ago your mom and dad told you that, and it's still resonating like that.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you have been different if mom and dad said, hey, Manny, I'm doing this because I don't want you to have to live with me forever.
Right.
You know, I understand he's going to the morbid side, like going to the dark side. I'd look right at him. Do you want to live with me forever?
Right. Good idea.
Really? Oh, hey, if that's the case, let me know. All right, I can plan. But if you're not planning on living with me forever, then don't you want to be able to live on your own, have your own place?
Mm-hmm.
And moms and dads, especially when I'm talking about junior high and high school, relationships are part of being an adult. Physical relationships are part of being an adult. These conversations you should be having with your children. If you have a son or daughter, I would be right with them. Be blunt. Be like, you're planning on having your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, adult relationship in my house? No, you're not. I don't want to know anything about that. That's an adult conversation. Then they start thinking, even a 10-year-old could get that. No, I don't want to bring my girlfriend home. I don't want to bring my boyfriend home to meet my parents. Ooh, nasty. Especially when girls still have cooties. You know what I'm saying to the guys? You want to live with mommy forever? No. Even more so, dad? Kid, I don't want you stinking up my house. There's only room for one man in the house. Yeah. These are conversations you can make it fun. You don't have to be the dictator. That's what I would tell our parents. Have real conversations. Again, from 40 years ago, 45 years ago, my pediatrician told my mom, if they are old enough to ask the question, they're old enough for an adult answer. Don't give them the mommy talk, the baby talk. Oh, birds and the bees. If your child comes to you and says, Mom and Dad, where do babies come from? They've already heard something. So don't tell them, oh, well, they get dropped off by the stork. We have technology now, okay? As much as I don't want to say it, your kid's probably seen porn if they're coming to you and asking you, where do babies come from, Mom and Dad? Just like when they ask you, how did Santa Claus get in the house? We don't have a chimney. Okay, parents, remember, our kids are manipulators. Sometimes they already know the answer, but what they need from you is honesty. They trust you, they love you, so be honest with your kids. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up today's episode. We will be back next month, March 18th. Mm-hmm. Exactly 30 days. So we'll be back on March 18th. We'll be back here on the couch. Please remember to send in any of your questions, comments, concerns. You have our resources, and if we can't answer it, we've got a team of other professionals that will help us get your answers to your questions. So guys, from our couch to yours, see you all next time.